Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today. I'm Bobbie Goldie, and I'm responsible for corporate distribution and moving and storage at IAT. Now that we're in person, I don't have to start with the standard Zoom disclaimer, which typically includes, be prepared, I may have barking dogs, I may have screaming kids, my internet might go out, and we just adopted a pig, so you may see a pig running in the background. All done now. Now that we're in person, I can skip all of that. Welcome to IAT's What's Brewing, where we're going to discuss our product offering, services, industry trends, and what makes IAT unique. My guest today is Tracy. He's an industry veteran, and he is responsible for IAT's inland marine, property, aviation. So, Joe, thanks for joining me. As an industry veteran, do you mind providing some history on your background?
Sure, and thanks for inviting me to speak with you this afternoon.
Thanks for joining me.
Started in the late 80s, and I took a career path here through engineering, where I started in loss control at an insurance company, and then moved through various roles and responsibilities in the underwriting and engineering role, all in the direct first-party coverages, and moved through a series of companies. And in late 2017, I joined IAT. I'm very happy to be here.
So when you're saying direct first-party coverages, what would that entail?
Most of my time was always spent with property coverages, marine coverages, equipment breakdown, anything that was direct damage, no casualty, really all property insurance.
All right, cool. That's pretty impressive. So your group, you got here in 2017. We did not have a true inland marine property aviation group. So do you mind providing some background on your group? When you've said when it was formed, but what are some of your key product offerings?
Sure. Well, actually, how we were formed actually was in a little series of events. When I came here, we already had a condo team that wrote Florida condominium associations. Then in late 17, right after I got here, a group of aviation experts joined the firm, and we got them up and running. And then about a year later, we hired some inland marine experts and got that team up and running. So really it was in 3 stages, where we brought 3 individual groups, all focusing on different coverages together to formally organize as IPA in 2019.
Very impressive, and it's just the start of 2022. So where is your group located within the U.S.? Like, do you have several locations to service your distribution partners?
We are a combination of decentralized and centralized. So our aviation team and our Florida condo team situated in Sarasota, Florida, but they handle business outside of Florida as well.
Yeah.
And then our inland marine team, we have a concentration in Atlanta, some team in Dallas, and then we have some people remotely located throughout the U.S.
Very nice. So if I were an agent and I had several opportunities and I thought they were a good fit for your group, how would I go about accessing you?
Each of our business units has an individual website where you can submit your business, or has inquiries for appointments. So you could go to the IAT website and click on commercial industries, IPA, and you'll find the information within the landing pages.
Okay, great. So if I don't have a license, I could possibly get one with you folks?
Yes, we're very open to having conversations with agents about appointments. Even talking with agents that are already appointed with other business units here at IAT and want to offer some other products that we have across the place.
Nice.
So we're open for business.
Okay, so if I was a broker and I didn't specialize in this, but I had several opportunities, and I was typically going retail, could I go through a wholesaler as well? Or is there any specific way that it would be best for me to access retail or direct or wholesale?
That's a good question. We're flexible in that regard. We have capabilities to go wholesale or retail, as well as offering admitted products and non-admitted products in some of our lines. So I'd say our key is, do we have a good partner? Mm-hmm. And then we can figure out what the right channel is and appropriate ways to go about that.
Very nice. That makes it very simple for folks. So hopefully you get an influx of business after this.
That's the game.
All right. So why do you believe your team has been so successful in a relatively short amount of time? Because if you look at it, in essence, 2019, you were really up and running as the IPA group.
I think a lot of it is credited to the talent that we brought on board. regardless of their expertise, whether they know the ins and out of a plane, the ins and out of the trucking industry, all the nuances of Florida condo or how a contractor equipment policy works. They bring expertise, and they really display that every day when they're talking with agents and brokers and solving people's problems.
So if I were a retailer or just an agent in general, and I wanted to talk to my underwriter, are they the decision maker? Can I talk to them? Because I know some places where you may have to go through a marketing person or a specific contact, and the underwriters typically don't get to make a lot of the decisions at some places. So with your group, do you allow them to be the decision maker, to have the conversations, to build the relationships?
We're a very nimble organization, and we believe that to empower the underwriter at the point of sale is the most effective way and efficient way for us to do business with our partners.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so when we're looking at your group again, and it's been a short amount of time in essence, how about some ways you've been successful? Has there been some significant loss history you've had to deal with? Can you go through like an example where you've been helpful with maybe a difficult situation for a piece of business?
Sure. Just a couple weeks ago, in our inland marine team, one of our underwriters received a contractor's equipment submission, and those can have a lot of small losses, and it was definitely profit challenged because of that. So what our underwriter did was be proactive and said, "You've had some losses. We'll need to make some changes for me to offer you a quote." But we did that in a thoughtful way to sit there and say what makes sense for both the client and underwriting so we could come to a true win-win. So we adjusted the deductible up. We even put an annual aggregate cap on it and then brought it down to a lower level. So we were trying to be mindful of the premium and their budget as well as our profitability. And I think we struck a nice balance, and the agent was able to sell that approach, and we won the business. So I think we took a thoughtful approach that landed us a good account, and we hope it'll be successful long term.
That is really impressive, because I know, when you're dealing with an account that has, frequency issues or several losses, the first thing for most underwriters, and I shouldn't say most underwriters, but there are underwriters out there that would look at that piece of business and say, you know what, I have 10 other deals on my desk. I'm going to focus on those, and I'm just going to push this one aside. Mm. But it's a testament to your team that they look at that piece of business and they say, hey, maybe there's a solution here, something that's mutually beneficial for all of us.
And we jumped to that conclusion not just through underwriting, but we also had our loss control team call and validate, are they making changes, because we all know that frequency leads to severity. So we wanted to make sure that if things normalize and that they put steps in place to resolve their loss issues, that we could have a long-term partnership, just not a one and done.
Yeah, very, very nice. How about with regards to limits? Have there been any situations when you were dealing with certain limits for an account that you were able to come up with a creative solution?
Yes, especially today's environment where a lot of capacity is being repositioned and reduced. We've had a lot of requests for loss limits, and it can be tough because you want to sit there and put the loss limit out there that you can make wise financial underwriting decisions. But they also have to sit there and go out and place business above you to sit there and make the whole deal happen. So we've taken a ground up approach where we'll underwrite the entire deal and then figure out how much do we think a loss limit or a primary limit is worth, so that we're underwriting throughout the risk, but then just picking our spots and then letting the broker build off of what we think is a fair price to solve the account's total solution.
Very nice, very nice. So we've talked a little bit about your folks and your successes. Do you mind if we break down your product offering a bit and do a little bit more of a deeper dive with regards to trends and concerns that you have?
Sure.
So I'd love to start with property. And with the recent infrastructure deal that passed, how does that impact your group first? And then if you can go a little bit more in some of the concerns or trends that you're seeing in property.
Sure. Whenever we're talking infrastructure, construction comes first to mind. Obviously not all those products are shovel ready, but there's already a pent-up demand for new buildings, new infrastructure projects. So, we're very excited that inland marine really is driven by the economy. As the economy grows, so does the number of opportunities we get. So we're going to see a lot of new projects coming on board, and they're going to be different products. They're going to be, bridges, tunnels, rail, maybe even renewable energy, things that are not your typical building a new shopping center or apartment building. We're going to see different types of projects, and you need the underwriters that have experience and expertise with those types of projects to properly handle them going forward. So I see that as exciting, not only for us, but for our team, where they get to really showcase their expertise on these unique projects.
Very, very nice. And do you, within that industry, in construction, are there any concerns that you may have, or when you're looking at, like, I almost feel like a broken record when we're talking about inflation, or we're talking about staff shortages or anything? Does anything like that come into play?
Most definitely. I'll start on the staff shortages. These are pretty technical jobs. So you're going to need the right contractor with the right people doing the work. And if you can't find those people, but you've already committed to the job, how are they going to adjust? So obviously, labor shortages at all levels of the project are going to be key for that to be successfully run and managed and delivered on time to the customer.
And do you see that part becoming an issue, that on-time delivery scheduling when the project's supposed to be complete and all of that? And is that a concern, or how does that play into all of this?
Every project has a timeline, and we review that and we look at it and say, does that timeline make sense? Do we think it's reasonable to be completed in that period of time? But I think we all know, even from our own personal experiences, that doesn't always go as planned. So you hope that people have some contingencies in there from a timeline standpoint. But where it'll also come into play is if you have a project, and we'll focus on maybe a coastal project, where you're going to have the upcoming hurricane season.
Oh, yeah.
And you think you're going to build the project and deliver it in April. And all of a sudden now you have a 4 or 5 month delay. And now the project won't be turned over to the owner until September. Well, now you have the building at its most vulnerable stage with the highest amount of value, subject to another hurricane season. So how you go about pricing that additional risk that's at the end of its project is an art. And the underwriters have to look at that, have an honest conversation with the broker or agent, and determine the best course of action to build a contingency in from a coverage standpoint.
And I think the brokers could appreciate that, because what you're doing is you're providing value to them. They're able to go back to their clients and communicate and articulate, hey, have you thought of this? Are you thinking of this? Maybe can you do this? So to me, when I think of IAT and some of the things we've done as an organization, I always think of that value add. We've hired the best in class. We believe we're the best in class. And instead of just bringing a piece of paper, we always bring a little bit more to the table that will help the risk itself. We're thinking about the risk a lot. How can we make this a better risk? Not how can we not have any claims, which of course, knock wood, that's what we hope for. But how can we make this a better risk, because we want a long-term partnership? So it's great when you speak of those things.
Yeah, it's so important, because we sell a promise. And the last thing I think we want are surprises in the life of that promise.
Yes.
So by thinking ahead, pre-planning, I think we're just laying out what we see in a conservative manner, and we're going to reduce some of the volatility and the scrambling that might go on if you have a delay and you haven't thought through what if.
Gosh. And I feel like in today's day and age, there should always be a what if. All right, so let's talk trucking and cargo. So I'm in the moving and storage group as well, and I am very clear that it's a very important industry, because it's moving all of our products around. Like, it is really, really important to our economy as well. So what do you see? What are some of the trends or concerns you see in the trucking inland marine area or cargo area?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that as we have a supply chain that's stalled. Product isn't moving as fast. And cargo at rest is cargo at risk, is a well-known adage in the transportation industry. So anytime it's not moving, it's susceptible to theft. If it's what if it was produce, and all of a sudden now it's got a spoilage issue. So we'd like to have a more fast-moving logistics system across the country so that we can reduce some of those loss potentials. That's definitely critical. But even if you had that, you need to have truck drivers.
Ah, yes, I'm dealing with that same issue.
I know. I thought we could bond on something. So you have to look at what's the quality of the drivers, what's their experience. If they're moving from parts of the country to other parts of the country, familiarity with your surroundings is critical. I know from experience where I've read more than one loss example where trucker not familiar with the area hit low bridge.
Ah, yes.
Even though there were signs, some things just happen, and sometimes local knowledge of the routes they're traveling can definitely be helpful. But people are mobile, and people might go where the jobs are.
Yes.
You just have to be mindful of driver selection and familiarity with their routes.
And it's interesting too when you see like the federal government looking at lowering the license or the age for CDL licenses now and so forth, and the training and all of that. It appears to me this isn't an issue that's going to go away quickly. It's a long-term issue, and as a whole, the United States has to figure out a solution with it, because obviously we can't have cargo at rest.
Right. Yeah, the last mile too. How do we get it from the last mile? We could improve our infrastructure to get it to 10 miles to our houses or our warehouses, but how do you go from the warehouse to your house?
Very, very
watching Amazon trucks drive all around.
And just think of all the Amazon trucks, or all of the vehicles that aren't Amazon trucks that are still drivers or vehicles for Amazon and whatever it may be. All right, so I hate to say this, but I'm assuming there's a similar story in aviation with some of the trends with regards to supply chains and hiring qualified folks. Are you seeing that in the aviation industry as well?
There is, and actually it kind of goes to some of the solutions. Aviation's seeing a little different trend. As commercial travel becomes more arduous, personal travel is picking up. So one thing we have seen is that owners want to buy a higher performance plane, but they might not necessarily have the experience in that plane. So you have to be creative to solve those solutions. So if we have somebody that owns a Cessna 172 and wants to upgrade to a Cessna 182.
That's what I was thinking of doing myself. It was about time. So this will be really helpful for me because I really need to understand this. So I'm going to lean into this. Okay.
Gotcha. So what we'll do is, just put some warranties on our policy to sit there and say, okay, spend some time. We'll certify how many hours with a certified flight instructor. While you're in the air, they'll help you. Maybe go to a ground school, which will train you appropriately on using this more high performance airplane. And then finally, before maybe you bring passengers on board, spend some time just flying it solo.
Nice. That's
so that
a good
you
idea.
Get comfortable, because nobody wants to be embarrassed about operating any piece of equipment when you have an audience all around you, right? So get more comfortable in the plane by yourself before you bring other people that might put some extra undue pressure on your operating that aircraft.
That is really good feedback. That's very good. I like that.
Well, so what we're seeing though is like when people are buying these planes, if they're damaged, it's taking longer for back to the parts, right?
Yep.
It takes longer for the parts to be manufactured and delivered. You have a number of skilled technicians that are limited in this world, so it may take longer for that plane to be repaired. And all that time, you might have to have it being stored in a hangar waiting for these parts. So what we definitely are seeing is small losses take longer time and the costs go up.
Yeah.
Very similar to what we'd always see on our car or what we both see in trucking.
Exactly, yes. I definitely feel that pain of the trucks sitting in the shop a lot longer than they typically would. So that's tough. Okay, so I want to end on a positive note. So when you think of insurance, you usually don't think of the word excited. I mean, I do because I'm an insurance geek and I love insurance. So what I want to know, what gets you excited about the future within your group and the industry?
I think the first thing is that as we enter a more robust economic cycle, a lot of what we do is based upon the economy. Aviation and inland marine first and foremost. But I wouldn't say just those, because we also write condominiums. So as people, as the population expands, people want to move. We're going to see more condominiums being built and occupied. So I think there's reason for optimism that the amount of opportunity out there, just from an expansion of the economy, is great for all of the products that we offer within our group.
Very cool.
I also think, though, when you have that opportunity, it makes it more enjoyable for the underwriters to perform their craft.
Yes.
Because it might get more difficult. And agents and brokers are going to have to lean on the underwriters more than they did in a softer market to sit there and solve the problems. Because if there's one thing that all of us can agree on in this industry, time is not getting any more, but we're asking to be more efficient and make more decisions faster.
Yes.
So you need the right people to partner with to bring successful outcomes in a fast, timely manner.
And I think of IAT in my time here, and one of the things I really, really appreciate is that we as an organization appreciate the underwriting craft, and we think that it is very specialized. We're a specialty carrier. It is very technical, and we provide our underwriting group the opportunity, the resources, and the support to really focus on that underwriting craft versus lots of administrative or manual type things. It's really like, hey, this is what you're hired for. We want you to utilize your expertise, so go ahead and do that. And it's just very, very refreshing to see that at this company. So
I'd agree. I think our focus is on, like our slogan, insurance answers together. The focus is on insurance.
yes.
And then we're doing our job to sit there and answer those and working together with our partners. I 100% agree with you.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. This has been absolutely fascinating for me. I've learned a lot. And thank you for coming today and answering all the questions I've had.
I had a great time. Always welcome to talk about the products we offer and industries we serve.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining. Until next time, this is Bobbie Goldie with What's Brewing.